Hello everybody, hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Gravely Kambe. If this is your first time on the channel, you are welcome. And for everyone that has been liking, subscribing, commenting, thank you so much guys. I really do appreciate you. Today I'm really going to jump into the video and say, my dear brothers and sisters here in South Africa, do not give birth to children in this country without knowing what I'm going to tell you right now, because I do believe this is a process that many people do not know. And if you are a South African and you have maybe foreigner friends or anything, after watching this video, should you ever get in the process of talking about this documentation, illegal documents and whatever, illegal migrants in South Africa, please do watch this video because it's going to help you advise your friend or your brother or your sister and so forth. A couple of months ago, I shared a bit of the documentation process that we need to go through as foreigners in this country. I gave you the two sides, which is asylum seekers and the ones that have critical skills permits, or the ones who acquired their documentation through critical skills permit. And in this case, my husband and I got his through critical skills and mine was through asylum asylum documentation. So with that being said, my husband and I applied for my son's permanent residency documentation for the past, well, it's almost going to be 2 years. We applied 2 years ago, and recently, or should I say in December, when we tried to do a follow-up on it, we discovered that the last time they actually got to touch our son's profile or case was in 2021 2022 around October. So by the time that we called in last year around November, December, it was already more than a year since anyone actually got to touch our son's documentation. And it was quite weird, but we're like, okay, cool, we are going to wait. And then later on, we received news to tell us that, we received news from, of course, the Home Affairs always communicates, the Minister of Home Affairs always communicates this update, that they are currently going through old permanent residency for them to know which ones were given genuinely, which one were not given properly, and which one were given in a fraudulent manner and all those things. So there is quite a pile, and it's going up, and apparently the Minister of Home Affairs is going back up to 2012. So imagine, before they could actually get and touch my son's documentation, which was done in 2022, I think, I believe. Yes, that were done in May 2022. We have to wait for them to go all the way up to 2012. Once they are done, then they'll come back to this. So which is a bit confusing. We're like, okay, well, because the issue with this country is that when it comes to the laws against foreigners here at Home Affairs, these things always change. You always have to be on top of your game. You always have to know what is happening. And in the meantime, they would still expect you to have some type of documentation which will make you legal in the country whilst you are still waiting for the documents to be released. So in this case, when we applied for my son, I had a permanent residency, including the ID. My husband also had a green ID, of course, a green barcoded ID. We applied thinking that everything is going to come out faster. We won't have to wait as long as we wait. Even for my daughter, we don't wait that long. So we expected things to run smoothly. But unfortunately, things still did not run smoothly. And recently, it was last month that my husband and I also decided to really look into it. We're like, in this way, it is difficult for us to travel with a child out of the country. It's difficult for us to perform certain tasks with our son included because, you know what I mean, does not have papers. And my husband is someone that likes to be on top of his game when it comes to documentation and stuff. So we went into inquiries and stuff, and we ended up speaking to an immigration specialist or an immigration lawyer that works for the Department of Home Affairs. And that is when we were informed that our son is still considered as an illegal migrant or illegal a person in this country, even though he was born in here. So regardless of the fact that his parents already have, but we as his parents, we already have all the documentation needed, he is still regarded as illegal. We have to make sure that we bring him to page, which means we have to quicken, or we have to make sure that we apply for everything that we can, or for all the documentation that we can, in order for him to also have his permanent residency. And in this case, the permanent residency is pending for almost 2 years, which, like I mentioned, it will be 2 years on the second, like sometime in May. It will be 2 years. It is our duty to make sure that our son has a temporary permanent residence, a temporary permanent residence permit on his files, because regardless of the fact that he was born here, regardless of the fact that his parents have already we are already up to date with all our documentation, the South African government will still not regard him as legal in South Africa. So I don't know if you're watching this and you are like, how come, Gloria, are you telling us? Yes, my dear, if you are a permanent resident in South Africa and you have given birth to your child, make sure that you speed up the process. After receiving the birth certificate, immediately run and apply for a temporary permanent residence. And the temporary permanent residence is supposed to take about 2 weeks to come out, but because of what is already happening in the country, and with the files that they are currently reviewing, as I mentioned earlier, you have to have something in hand to show that you still want to show your willingness that you still want your child to be legal, or to be considered as an illegal individual in the country of South Africa. What you need to make sure is that you get your child's an unabridged birth certificate, which is very important. The one that is written by hand, yes, if you have it, my dear sister, do keep it in handy, because that one means a whole lot compared to the small A5 one that my daughter has, apparently. So do not waste time. Back in the days, it was you give birth to your child and automatically your child becomes a resident of the country because you guys are residents, but it's no longer the case. So before you think about going and expanding your family, think about the cost that will come in place. Think about the documentation process. And I'm not doing this video to discourage anyone. I'm not saying this to shade anyone or anything. I am just being very informative, because we have a friend of ours, or one of my aunties, let me rather say it like that. She applied for 3 of her children in 2020, and we are already in 2024, and her children have not received their permanent residency. So I really hope this video was informative for you. I don't know if I'm just blabbing around. So I don't know if many of you are in that position. Even if you have your documentation as an asylum seeker, remember, one thing that we also don't know is that the government of South Africa gives us the refugee ID, or the South African ID, as a temporary documentation, or as a temporary travel document, until we get to have possession of our own country's passport. So I don't really want to go much into that. So just make sure that you have your child's birth and unabridged birth certificate if you and the mother and the father are both together, and make sure that you apply for your child's permanent residency. First, apply for the temporary one, have the receipt in hand while you are waiting for the permanent one. For the permanent one, it costs about I think it's the same price for the application. It is 1,500 Rand for an application at the VFS agency. So very important. I know 3,000 Rand just like that to make an application, not knowing when it will come out. Better do that than being sorry. So don't say that Gloria did not warn you. I learned something new, and I really wanted to really educate you. It doesn't matter which country you come from. These are the things that are required of us, and we need to make sure that we bring ourselves up to book. Or if you don't feel like being entangled in all of this, just don't have any more kids. take that moment to sort out your other kids first, because you never know. It is not your country. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that you found this to be informative. Please let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.